and our Vedic system. So, Prabhu, can you share 1:8:36? Or so this is a verse I have picked up from Bhagavatam, as usual said, Canto 1, Chapter 8, verse number 36. This is one of the prayers by Kunti Maharani.
You are the co-host, Lord. You can do it now.
Oh, okay, Prabhu. So, so Kunti Maharani is actually, when Krishna is leaving from Hastinapur to go back to Dwarka, that's where she's praying. And she's close associate of Krishna. She's pure devotee of Krishna. So whatever is she's telling and whatever is saying here is absolutely correct. There's no doubt about it. So that's what we need to follow. And she's talking about chanting and remembering Krishna. That's the verse I wanted to share. Shedvanti gayanti giranti abhikshanasaha smaranti nandanti tabehitam janaha ta eva pashyanti achirena tavakam bhava prabhoha paramam padambujam. Shrinvanti gayanti giranti avikshanasaha smaranti nandanti tavehitam janaha ta eva pashyanti achirena tavakam bhava pravaho paramam padambujam. Translation, synonymous, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shrinvanti, hear. Gayanti, chant. Grinanti, take. Abhikshanasaha, continuously. Smaranti, remember. Nandanti, take pleasure. Tava, your. Ihitam, activities. Janaha, people in general. They, eva, certainly. Pashyanti, can see. Achirena, very soon. Tavakam, your. Bhava pravaha, the current of rebirth. Uparamam, cessation. Pada ambujam, lotus feet. Here, chant, take continuously. Remember, take pleasure. Your activities, people in general. They certainly can see very soon the current of rebirth, cessation, lotus feet. Translation. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Again, O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Purport. The Supreme Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. In order to see him, one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life full of spontaneous love of Godhead. When Shri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Materialistics like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kansa, Jarasandha, and Shishupal were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. This necessary qualification is developed by process of devotional service only, beginning with hearing about the Lord from right sources. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the popular literatures which are generally heard, chanted, repeated, etc. by the people in general, but in spite of such hearing, etc., sometimes it is experienced that the performer of such devotional service does not see the Lord eye to eye. The reason is that the first item, Shravana, is very important. If hearing is from the right source, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualification, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes a sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent and bona fide speaker and then hear from him. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other process becomes automatically perfect in their own way. There are different transcendental activities of Lord, and each and every one of them is competent to bestow the desired result, provided the hearing process is perfect. In Bhagavatam, the activities of the Lord begin from his dealings with the Pandavas. There are many other pastimes of the Lord in connection with his dealings with the Asuras and others. And in the 10th canto, the sublime dealings with his conjugal associate, the gopis, as well as with his married wives at Dwarka are mentioned. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference in the transcendental nature of each and every dealing of the Lord. But sometimes people in an unauthorized hearing process take more interest in hearing about his dealings with the gopis. Such an inclination indicates the lusty feelings of the hearer, so a bona fide speaker of the dealings of the Lord never indulges in such hearings. One must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scriptures, and that will help the hearer attain perfection by progressive development. One should not therefore consider that his dealings with the Pandavas are less important than his dealings with the gopis. We must always remember that the Lord is always transcendental to all mundane attachment. In all the ever mentioned dealings of the Lord, he is the hero in all circumstances. In hearing about him or about his devotees or combatants is conducive to our spiritual life. It is said that Vedas and Puranas, etc., are all made to revive our lost relation with him. Hearing of all this scripture is essential. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, Prabhupada has very nicely written the purport, and the topic why I got interested in this, that by chanting and hearing, we can actually see Krishna, associate with Krishna. And then Prabhupada writes what happens when you don't understand the process correctly and how we can actually be misdirected, misguided. So, the main points which I've highlighted, actually chanting is, as I said, is a very big topic, and not only 45 1 hour minute class, we can talk about chanting whole life. So I would like to cover only those points which I have realized through my process of being engaged in devotional service and being in the movement through Hare Krishna weekend. So I have made some notes which I would like to share so that we all know that what I'm going to talk about, and then we can accordingly ask the question. So chanting is it has been covered elaborately in in Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about this, and Prabhupada, we start in bhakti through chanting. So the point which I wanted to discuss, the translations, O Krishna, those who continuously, so this continuously word is very important, hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so. So continuously is very important. If it is, and for continuity, we have to do what we have to do. If really we are really interested in meeting, seeing Krishna, devotees are not interested in seeing Krishna, but that's what we are discussing here. Can you all see my screen? It's coming, your screen sharing is paused. I don't know what that means.
You can see the screen, but there is no text on the document.
Sorry, bro?
We can see the screen, like there is a Word document. We can't
Oh,
see
yeah,
the text on the document.
Yes, okay. Okay, I'll keep reading my own notes and keep sharing. So being continuous is critical, and that's where we struggle to be able to purify our chanting, to actually take benefit of chanting. And repeat your transcendental activities. So while we are chanting, it's very important that we are actually out of the modes. And I'm not talking about the process of chanting, that how we actually, because I understand that you understand that how we engage our five senses and by chanting and all those things. But it's we all have a problem. At least I have a problem that we have a wavering mind when we're chanting. So it's very important that we actually understand this, how we can be out of these modes, or at least in the modes of goodness. Otherwise, chanting will not be as effective as we want it to be. This is what I want to discuss. And the most important is the pleasure in others doing so. That is enviousness. And that is very subtle. So if you're chanting and if this kind of deficiencies we have got, it becomes very hard to actually take advantage or forget about realizing Krishna. So this is 3 points which I picked up, and because in the limited time I said, okay, let us talk about these things and understand that how we can improve our chanting, whatever chanting, because I know we all are chanting. And so my problem, and I thought I'll relate with my problem. So my problem is that whenever I start my day, I always think that whether I'll be able to chant my round today or not. Believe me, I always struggle. And it is, and that's where actually I have to force myself to actually be able to chant. And there are many ways of, there are standards of chanting, that how would you actually chant. So it's really hard for me to follow the process. And that's why I thought I'll pick up those points. So the point I wanted to, the Supreme Lord Krishna cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. So we all are conditioned. We all have situations. We all have our own entanglement, our own conditioning, and that's actually affects our chanting. the chanting becomes hard. And I'm always told, Prabhuji, I'm not able to chant. And Prabhuji, I've only chanted so many rounds. And so we are talking about even for the people who are chanting regularly, because being in the material world, we are always conditioned and it becomes hard for us to actually be able to chant properly. So how do we actually do it? So Prabhupada writes, so I have highlighted some point notes which I want to share, but probably not this time, maybe next time. So Prabhupada says one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life full of spontaneous love of Godhead. So since I'm talking about Kunti's mother's realizations and prayers, so I'm talking about these situations, as mentioned in Bhagavatam, that how we can realize Krishna, how we can see Krishna, we can see Krishna's lotus feet. And that's where that love of Godhead should be spontaneous. So how do we get there? How do we actually develop that vision? That Prabhupada further writes, so unless we have that spontaneity, it becomes very hard, and it's a process. Prabhupada is on record saying that whatever level we are at, the formula is same for all. We all chant. We all are in the process, whatever we do, whatever we are doing, preaching, we are doing prasad distribution, we are studying books, we are associating with devotees, we are sharing realization, or whatever devotional activity. The idea is that we are able to chant properly. We are able to develop that spontaneity so that it is not our second nature, it is our first nature. We are a devotee all the time, Maharaj will say, not when we have got dhoti and all that, or when we are in temple. So we are a devotee even when we are at home or wherever we are. So that is the first condition. And unless we develop this kind of situation, it becomes very hard to realize lotus feet of Krishna. That is what Kunti Mother is saying and Prabhupada is writing. And the second point which I wanted to share, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. So how do we get there? When Prabhupada writes in the purport about Ravan and Kansa and Jarasandha and Duryodhana and whatnot, they could not see Krishna. They could not realize Krishna. And even unless only pure devotee can see Krishna, not everybody can see Krishna. It's just becoming a devotee or having able to chant some round and read some verses here and there and do some preaching whenever, wherever. That doesn't qualify us. Even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible. And for a devotee, they can see Krishna even when they are drinking water. That discussion we were having yesterday. The seed verses talks about the continuity, the continuous, what happens when it is a continuous process, and what happens if it is not a continuous process. And we all go through these ups and downs because we live in material world. So Prabhupada writes that how do we get there? How do we develop this, those eyes so that we can see Krishna, lotus feet or face to face? So Prabhupada further writes that beginning with the Lord, about the Lord, this necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service only, beginning with the hearing about the Lord from the right sources. This we talk all the time in our Hare Krishna weekend, that having connection to the right source, and that's why whenever we are introducing ourselves to a new person or somebody who is looking at getting on this path of devotional service, we ask him to read Srila Prabhupada book. We educate him to become intelligent. We tell them that you use your intelligence and let Prabhupada talk to him directly. But we are talking about step. What we are talking about is seeing the Krishna's lotus feet, the process. So unless we are connected with the right sources, it is not possible to realize Krishna. Forget about being able to see his lotus feet. And as I said, that we are all actually doing all those devotional activities, devotional service. Chanting is a devotional service, is to improve our chanting so that we can realize Krishna. And I think I should mention here that there are, why chanting, I picked up chanting, because there are 9 processes of devotional service, and we picked up chanting and hearing. That's from Shravanam Kirtanam, from where it starts. So I'll quickly share that verse. Or read the translation actually. Shri Prahlada Uvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. So these are the 9 processes. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus with the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord's one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. So we are discussing here how to see Krishna's lotus feet, and these are 9 processes of devotional service. So we are always being asked that, Prabhuji, what kind of devotional service we can do, how we can be engaged. So even chanting is a devotional service. Hearing about Krishna is a devotional service. So even when we are doing this attending classes, we are hearing about Krishna Katha Bhāgavatam, this is a devotional service. Then further in the purport, which I actually highlighted, if hearing is not from right sources, and if it is from unauthorized sources, it becomes poison. It can take us away from Krishna. It can actually, we may not be able to remain in connection with Krishna. We may forget our real purpose. And Prabhupada further write, which I wanted to share, is when the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other process becomes automatically perfect in their own way. So 9 processes which I was sharing. The starting was Shravanam. And chanting is actually, when we are chanting, we are hearing our own sound. So the starting point is this chanting. And by perfecting our chanting, all those 9 processes can be automatically perfected. That's Prabhupada is writing. Ambrish Maharaj, while he was ruling the world, he was performing all those 9 processes. And we know that what happened to him. He actually, how Krishna protected him. How, Lord Vishnu protected him. So that is the position of a pure devotee. And that's what Bhagavatam talks about. That's what Kunti Maharani is talking about. And this is very important that we understand the process perfectly. My Guru Maharaj told me in the very beginning that before we go to Bhagavatam, we have to follow a process. Even when we study Bhagavatam, we have to follow a process, that how we go from Canto 1 to Canto 10 or beyond. And that same point, Prabhupada is emphasizing for someone who is interested in seeing Krishna's lotus feet or associating with Krishna or perfecting his devotional service. So Prabhupada writes here, one must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in Srimad Bhagavatam, any other scripture, and that will help the hearer attain perfection by progressive development. Otherwise, there is no other way. And yesterday, I remember, or Parth Prabhu was sharing a realization that how he has seen in his small life with us that people have come, they've gone reading Bhagavatam, this book, that book, and they have actually left this movement completely. This happens. This is happening. People, you all are realizing now at this young stage that how people actually get distracted. Now, even in Bhagavatam, when I was thinking about, when I was preparing for this discussion, I was listening to Sanjeev Prabhu. He was giving a very nice class. And he was talking about 1, 2, 6, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse number 6. Samaya pulsam paro dharmo yato bhakti rato chakre ahe tu kya pratyeta ayatmasu prasidati. So that unmotivated and uninterrupted, which I discuss about continuously. So that discussion is coming in the Canto 1, Chapter 2. It is not coming, the Canto 10 is not being discussed here. The process is being discussed step by step. And you start feeling, if it is uninterrupted and unmotivated, out of modes. And we are not worried about what somebody else is doing, and we are happy to, Kunti Maharaj is telling this in the verse also. And when this is chapter 1, chapter number 8, Canto 1, chapter 8, verse number 36 we are studying. So that's where Kunti Maharaj is talking about that we are going to miss out, and aap to aise hain, people can see you if they follow this process. This is coming in Canto 1, chapter 8. And I was discussing chapter 7, where actually Prahlad Maharaj actually saw Nrsimhadev. So again, all the information even in Bhagavatam it is not by default, it is by purpose. Because although realizations are coming, or by purpose. And you know what happens in Canto 10. So we have to go step by step while we are studying these books, Bhagavatam particularly. We cannot jump from chapter 1 to Canto 1 to Canto 10. And of course, it has to be heard from the right sources. And Prabhupada re-emphasizing the same point here. So we cannot improve our bhakti. Now, I was talking about this process of hearing, and so how this process actually works. So Canto 1, chapter 2, verse number 17. Shamanatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridaya Antasto Ha-Abhadani Vidhunati Suhitsatam. So this is again same about hearing. And translation is Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotees. Truthful devotees. You remember we talk about truthful. In everyone's heart and the benefit of the truthful devotees, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotees who has developed the urge to hear his message, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Same message Prabhupada is writing. And I was listening to Prabhupada's class sometime that Prabhupada giving example that how super soul is connected, like he was giving example of TV and radio. That somebody is broadcasting somewhere and you can hear radio and watch TV in your home. Now we are much advanced. So similarly, how Krishna is connected to each soul, when super soul and soul sitting side by side, once we start looking at super soul, the process starts of going back to Godhead, or being able to see Krishna, being able to be connected. So this is what Suta Goswami is telling, benevolent heart and the benefit of the truthful devotees cleanses the desire for material enjoyment. Detachment comes as we follow this process correctly. From the heart of devotees who has developed the urge to hear his message. So it has to be, we have to develop the urge. We have to actually, we want to do this. We are missing out. We are not able to chant. I'm not able to read the books. I'm not able to associate with devotees. I'm not able to do this. So this is early stage, and in fact, every stage, this is what a devotee has to think and do to be able to see the lotus feet of Krishna or to go back to Godhead. This is the process. But, and Prabhupada further, Sud Goswami further said, virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So there is a process how we do it, what we do, and that's why we follow discipline succession, so that we don't get distracted. It is so easy to get distracted. I remember some time ago, Amrish was giving this realization that free will is more powerful than Maya Devi. I think I've shared with all of you. Means we are more powerful than Maya Devi. So it's very easy to get distracted. Very, very easy. And we will not even notice that we are distracted. Now, this transcendental point which I wanted to discuss, that transcendence, that how we actually get, I know we all know this point. This I'm not telling anything new. But we are discussing Bhagavatam, so we are trying to make it some structured thing so that we make sense. And in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, Krishna talks about this entire process in a different way. Perfection of yoga and perfection of life. We're controlling the mind. But here I wanted to share this verse. This is same canto 1, chapter 2, verse number 25. Bhejire munayo thagre Bhāgavatam. Let me start. Bhejire munyo thagre Bhagwantam adokshagam Sattam vishuddham kshemaya kalpante anutaniha. Translation. Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead. Due to his existence above the three modes of material nature, they worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. So only Krishna is above this more transcendental states and his pure devotees. And that what the great sages do who are interested in associating with Krishna, serving Krishna, looking at, to actually see his lotus feet. That's what the process they follow. And the reason is given in Bhagavatam. What we are concerned here, whoever follows such great authority is also eligible for liberation from the material world. So unless we liberated, we can't go there. So that's why whenever we are in touch with Krishna, whenever actually we are chanting properly, we are above those modes. And we all experience this, depending upon our level of chanting, level of association, level of understanding, level of realization. So it's very important that if you're really serious about it, this is the art we have to learn. And this, again, this chanting, why is it so powerful? I would like to share this also. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given only 8 verses. And out of those 8, second and third, he talks about the chanting, the power of Krishna's name. That what actually Krishna has done. So, oh my Lord, I will only read those which I wanted to quote. Oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. End of story. We don't have to go anywhere else. Transcendental energy is invested in Krishna's name, as long as we understand. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Is it not true? We have no attraction for them. And we complicate the process. You enable us to easily approach you by chanting and your holy names. So easy, no complication. But you remember, chanting is so hard. I was listening to Prabhupada, devotees were telling somebody, they chant, 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 and they will say can't, can't, can't. So it is our problem, we bring our complication here, and that's why this transcendence is actually beyond us. We just cannot even think about it. And the further third verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. Easy to understand, no complication. But the problem starts. I'll talk about the problem. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all senses of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So I picked up this verse for the word constantly. And the previous verse of transcendental, because that's where Kunti Maharani was talking about. So imagine if we become a straw on the street and we are always bent like a tree. We are not tolerant like a tree. Can we chant all the time? If we are a straw on a street, everybody just coming and crushing us, can we chant? And we are tolerant. It means we have to use our common sense so that we can continuously chant. And that's why we need guidance. Otherwise, chanting becomes hard. Chanting becomes impossible. I have come across those people who have actually given up on chanting. They don't chant anymore. And they give all the reasons why they cannot chant. So, Kuti Maharaj is saying, oh Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat. Simple. Your transcendental activities. We discussed about what they are. Or take pleasure in others doing so. This is not easy. We are by nature envious. Certainly see your lotus feet. Certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. The process is simple, but the implementation is hard. In fact, this lifetime may be short. Maybe we have to take many lifetimes to realize these simple words. So whatever we do, we have to focus on this every day, that we continually hear and chant and repeat, take pleasure in others chanting, and obviously in a transcendental mode, so that we practice it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about this. The most confidence and knowledge is devotional service. Can you imagine? People means doing devotional service is the most confidence and knowledge. And what is devotional service we are talking about? We're talking about chanting and hearing and repeating. What is so confidential about it? It is an open secret. But Krishna is covered by his energy, so it is confidential. Now, we all have a problem, means I'm going to talk about that thing. We all have a problem that we're not able to chant. I have heard this, so I'm telling you. It's not my invention. It's not my discovery. So whatever I'm saying, I've heard somewhere, so I'm repeating. So I wanted to refer this also. In chapter 6, verse number 7, Krishna talks about this stage, that how we actually by controlling our mind, how we can not this level, but we can go to certain level. That is super soul realization. And we are talking about personal realization here. So there is difference. But that verse is, probably we all remember that verse. That stage we have to go through. Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahitaha shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tathamanopa. So this is Paramatma relation. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already achieved. For he has attained a tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor, all the same. So this is stages of personally realizing Krishna. I thought I'll share this also before I conclude. So I would like to give some examples so that we can relate. The devotees who perfected their lives by chanting and remembering are Parishit Maharaj, Narad Muni, Sage Valmiki, Arjuna, sages at Namisharan, and many, many more. I've just picked a few. And of course, Kunti Maharani were talking about. And whenever, now to conclude this, whenever actually we struggle to focus on chanting on Krishna's name, so take advantage of his energy invested in his name, we should chant loudly. Once you start chanting loudly, all the distraction just goes away. I have tried this. And when I'm chanting, then my mind goes somewhere else, when I'm thinking something else while chanting. So easiest way, I think I've heard somewhere that you can hear your own thing. And we know that we can engage our five senses by chanting properly and all those things. So I wanted to discuss this perspective, which is mentioned in Bhagavatam, is Kunti Maharani, in a different way, instead of Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, which talks about very nicely. Hopefully I made sense here. If anybody wants to say anything, you're most welcome. Wish Prabhu, and if you want to say anything.
No, thank you very much for your nice realizations. I have nothing to say. All the best. Anyone has any questions, then please address it to him. Avinash, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We started a bit late, so we can finish a bit late. No problem.
Yes,
just continue.
If you don't ask question, I can ask question. Yeah, of course, I'm allowed to. I should know how much I actually made sense to you. So while you're thinking about your questions, I would like to share one more realization. Is the pure devotees are not interested in associating with Krishna or going back to Godhead. They are interested in serving Krishna, which as we read Bhagavatam progressively, we understand these realizations. It doesn't otherwise go into, you have to have right source to get this information. And my question to anybody can answer. Which is the sense, or which are the senses which are actually most difficult not most difficult. By engaging one particular sense, how we can actually improve our chanting most? Yes, I'll start with Suchi Mataji.
So I feel that by engage, am I audible?
Now you are.
So I feel that engaging in chanting itself or speaking out the name loud can
Yeah.
bring out
Which sense we are talking about?
your mouth, your tongue, your jiva, what you
Yes,
say.
subset. Yeah, this is the most difficult because vacho vegam. Yeah.
Yes.
You want to eat everything. You
Yeah.
want to speak everything. You are out of control. So controlling your tongue is the most important and at the same time most difficult. I am challenged. And the most difficult part is actually, which affects our chanting is while our mind is going everywhere. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. Yeah, we have studied it. Devotees have studied the propensity to speak.
Hare Krishna, Avinash.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much for your very nice lecture. So just actually the question that you raised, by controlling which sense, you can actually progress or engage or purify all your senses. So actually my own realization is nothing on reflection of what other people think, Prabhuji. And no doubt actually, their tongue is the most important, it's actually what you speak, what you eat, and actually controlling, everything. But my realization is actually if your hearing is actually, if you improve your hearing, the ability to listen actively, I think I found that your chanting improves quite dramatically. Because most time we're chanting, it's mechanical, we're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. But if you're not listening, then your mind wanders. But if you actually control, you're consciously controlling your hearing, I think it brings your mind back. So just a point, Prabhuji, what I think actually hearing is very, very important.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, you are giving the process. Yes, perfect, Prabhu. Yeah, good realization. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, I also agree with Sheetal Prabhu that hearing is also important while chanting Prabhu for focus and we have to listen actively to our own chanting, our own pronunciations, so we don't wander off to some different thoughts or something happening in the background room. Yeah. So I also agree with Sheetal Prabhu.
Yes. All the 5 senses are important. Now I have to talk about this. I'm talking about engaging the senses. You are talking about the process, how we start process. Yes, before you chant Krishna's name, you have to hear. Even if you start hearing, don't chant. It will have as much as effect as probably chanting. Yeah, that devotional activity starts when you start hearing. But our sense, I'm talking about out of those 5 senses, chanting is the tongue has taste also and speaks, it helps in speaking also. There are 2 activities. And it's Prabhupada on record. It's not my realization. They start with tongue when we're starting this process. But when we, engaging our senses. But even if you don't speak anything, but even start hearing and you are attentively hearing, your devotions will start. So there are 2 things here. Do it make sense? And anybody else? One one last thing I would like to say, and I've heard this, it's not my realization. Our chanting should be as a young child cries for her mother. And we have all seen a young child crying for the mother. If we can develop that sense while chanting, then our bhakti will exponentially improve. And I can't do this. So chanting is something which we all are working. Chanting is the tool for somebody who's starting, and chanting who is a pure devotee also. They are actually chanting more, but only the intensity changes. And that's how their relationship with Krishna changes. So chanting is the only thing. And of course, hearing, as Srila Prabhu said. If you're not able to chant, just hear. And that will do wonders. That's what Parikshit Maharaj perfected his life. So thank you, Amrish Prabhu. Thank you, devotees, for tolerating me. And I don't know what I said, but I did my best.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I got one question. Not question, I don't know. Maybe you can shed some light on this. Because you actually presented this topic, focusing on actually the importance of actually glorifying the Lord and chanting. And as you rightly said, this is a very core subject matter of Hare Krishna, Krishna consciousness. So I think there was a lot of discussion in the past as well, as Avinash, as you know, we discussed this many times. And how much actually effort we take to actually improve the chanting, because Amrish always, taught us, even whenever we do services, big festivals, they always say in the end that it should reflect, or translate into improving the quality of chanting. So I don't know how much means for me sometimes actually how much focus on that instruction, because one point you said that actually you refer to the Shishtashtakam, and he said he has invested all his energies, Lord has invested all his energy in his name. And being absolute, there is no difference between Krishna and his name. But my realization, Prabhuji, because I think maybe I do not have that faith that actually Krishna's name and Krishna are the same. That's why actually when we chant, I think we are not that serious. If Krishna is in front of us, we may be very, very serious, but we don't have that conviction that Krishna's name and Krishna are the same. So maybe is that, Prabhuji, comes down to faith, or is that basically means my understanding, Prabhuji, is the lack of faith. That's why maybe also gives rise, our mind is wandering while chanting.
Thank you, Prabhu. Both, yeah, you said very nicely. So this is to reflect in our chanting, and we don't have faith that Krishna's name is as powerful as Krishna himself. And as I said, Prabhu, I don't know. I've seen pure devotees. I'm talking about Maharaj, and I've not seen Papa, but I've seen a lot of pictures and all those things. And I've heard and I've read somewhere that these devotees are actually not interested in seeing Krishna. They see Krishna all the time, everywhere. They see Krishna in everything. They just can't differentiate. They cannot see anything without Krishna. Correct me if I'm wrong. So since we are a different level of our bhakti, different level of understanding, and you are also preaching, and you have seen us, and there have been devotees who said that we want to go back to Godhead. Yeah, you've seen those devotees who want to go back to Godhead. So again, it's how your relationship you are building with Krishna, what is your constitutional position. But pure devotees cannot differentiate. They see only Krishna. And since, as you said, our faith, our belief, our bhakti, I'm talking myself, is we just can't understand. We cannot even understand that this is possible. Correct? That's your realization. That's my realization also, Prabhu. I'm saying you're absolutely right, Prabhu. Oh, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Amrish, Prabhu, you correct me, please.
Yeah, they see the energy, they see Krishna and his potencies everywhere, And that's what we are trained to do. That is our training. That's what we should be doing. And we aim for that. And that once those are perfected it, they can see that, Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Avinash Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Silvo. Thank you for asking question. Anybody else had got any realization or any concerns or any dispute or any realization or anything?
I have a question.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Prabhu, as I am a person who is managing my career as well as the spiritual life, so there are and when it comes to the point of 24 hours chanting, so how can we could do in that limited period of time perfect chanting, or maybe how we can manage our material aspects, that is our career, our education, professional life, and then maintaining this rhythm of 24 hours chanting. So can you please just highlight in the topic? I think many of the youth has this kind of question. I personally have this question.
Very good question, Suchin. Good. You have got a burning question that I want to chant 24 hours. Who else want to chant 24 hours? Parth, you want to chant 24 hours or you want to do your job 24 hours? Okay. Okay. So, Suchi Mataji, when this is, I guess Amrish was just told, if you want to realize that then we are in the process of to get that level, no? That's our goal, 24 hours chanting. Nothing other than chanting, nothing other than Krishna. That's our ultimate goal. Now we have to take first step before go on the top. So we have taken first step. We'll take second step. We'll take third step. We'll take fourth step. And I am told that if you take one step, Krishna take 1,000 steps. So you're good that you have got a strong desire to be 24 hours chanting or remembering Krishna, but follow the process. Otherwise, what happens? You start doing it by stopping everything else, and then you will stop doing it also. And I've seen happening this. People give up everything and then come back to they leave Krishna consciousness completely. So follow the process, and process works. Correct? So step one you have taken. You started associating, started reading books, you started chanting, you're studying books, you are attending Bhagavatam classes, different levels. And slowly, and as we discussed, this spiritual life is so perfect that material life, it automatically taken care. We discuss all the time. And eventually your life becomes spiritual and you are 24/7 chanting, remembering Krishna. Is that okay? Yeah, give that fire burning, huh? Keep that fire burning. Chanting. Your dad is hearing. He said, "What is I'm teaching you?" Hare Krishna.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Anybody else before we? Chanting is the thing. Chanting is a thing. Thank you, Amrish Prabhu. Thank you very much for engaging.
Krishna. Thank you very much, Avinash Prabhu, for a nice topic and discussion on this today. And so with this, we conclude our discussion on the power of chanting Krishna's name for ultimate perfection. Hare Krishna. So we will now disconnect from YouTube. In about 20 seconds, we'll reconnect again. So please don't go away. We'll start with our other program, beginners program. And please All of you also remain there where you are. Thank you very much.